Shalom, Mishpacha, I'm Rabbi Carlson, and I wish to give you a happy Juneteenth celebration on this supernatural day, one that we've been honoring and celebrating for years here at Congregation Zion's sake. Juneteenth, which is today, Thursday, June the 19th, 2025, commemorates the June 18th and 19th, 1865 day when Union General Gordon Granger and 2,000 federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to take possession of the state and enforce the emancipation of the slaves. On June 19, 1865, legend has it, while standing on the balcony of Galveston's Ashton Villa, which, by the way, was owned by a Jew, Granger read the contents of General Order Number 3, which was, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection hereto existing between them becomes that of employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere. That day since has become known as Juneteenth, the name coming from a portmanteau of the two words June and teenth, like 19th and 18th, and other numbers ending with teeth. The North's victory brought an end to the Civil War and slavery, and this national conflict resulted in several amendments to abolish slavery, ensure citizenship, and the right to vote. The end of African slavery started in 1861 with the beginning of the Civil War, but it didn't effectively come to pass until the Voting Rights Act of 1865 was passed. Immediately following the end of the Civil War, the Democrats were back in power in the South, and they reinstituted Jim Crow laws, separate but equal, and reinforcing basically a modern slavery under a different name. And just 20 years after the issue of Emancipation Proclamation, it has ended, and we were back to sharecroppers and segregation. In the meantime, we had Julius Rosenwald, who was a Jewish American businessman and philanthropist, and he was part owner and leader of the Sears and Roebuck Company. He was concerned about justice for all and spent millions of his own money, $70 million, to build and funded over 5,300 state-of-the-art schools for African American children across the South. This effort's been called the most important initiative to advance black education in the 20th century. We have a similar story right here with the Hampton Agricultural and Technical Institute. Now it's Hampton University. Only months after Hitler seized power in Germany in the spring of 1933, Jewish intellectuals who had held prestigious positions in Germany's renowned universities were targeted for expulsion. One of the first pieces of Nazi legislation excluded non-Aryans from civil service or academic positions in Germany. Those who dared to oppose the decree were met with brutal suppression. Many of these scholars fled coming to America, leaving with nothing more than the clothes on their backs, hoping to continue their academic careers. But in arriving in America, they found the same spirit of anti-Semitism and hatred for them as being Jewish scholars. While most of the famous refugees like Albert Einstein were welcomed into the hallowed halls of Eastern academia, most of these other scholars faced an aloof anti-Semitic academic world, if not even hostile. But for the black colleges, including Howard University, Hampton Institute, Talladega colleges, these refugee prisoners provided the opportunity to add great talent to their faculty. For the professors, the arrangement provided a new home, a classroom of students eager to learn, and an insider look at an America that few had ever seen. While most of these pairings between Jewish refugees and black colleges began as marriages of convenience, they often blossomed into matches that lasted a lifetime. Some historians point to 1968 as the year that Juneteenth became a potent symbol unifying African Americans and a disparate community around their country. That was the year when on April 4th, the civil rights icon Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis. His murder threw the civil rights movement into crisis. Ralph Abernathy, one of King's confidants and associates, stepped into the leadership breach and helped the country heal. A few weeks after King's death, Abernathy organized a massive solidarity rally in Washington, D.C. on Juneteenth, 1968. The celebration brought this Texas tradition to the attention of over 50,000 rally participants who brought the idea of Juneteenth back to their own communities to make it their own. For Abernathy, the template for Juneteenth celebration of freedom was the biblical description of the Jewish exodus found from Egypt. Today in America, the black man is a Jew in Egypt, he explained. Inspired by the Jewish story of Passover, Abernathy modeled the celebration of Juneteenth on the Jewish holiday of freedom. One of his closest friends was a Jewish civil rights activist, Rabbi Israel Dresner, who shared Jewish perspectives about both slavery in ancient Egypt and about his mother's family recent experiences as slave laborers in Nazi Europe. Abernathy incorporated Jewish ideas into his activism. For Abernathy, threats to Jewish safety weren't relegated to the past. He warned repeatedly that Jews were still in danger from anti-Semitism in America. That was over 50 years ago. Mishpocha, here we are. He was a member of the Black Americans to Support Israel Committee and organized educational programs and visits to the Jewish state within the American Black community. He said blacks should not forget that Jews are our closest allies, he declared in 1970. For this father of the modern Juneteenth holiday, freedom for African Americans was inextricably linked with freedom for the Jews. Amidst the celebrations of this holiday, let's pause to remember the ways that American Jews have been privileged to contribute in the development of Juneteenth and to work to rebuild links between African American communities, Jewish communities, and others with great intentionality. Let us honor and celebrate this day in the spirit in which it was meant, and let us proclaim, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Shalom.